The lesson we're going to cover today is on getting to know InDesign. This lesson gives us a chance to get started with some simple features that we're going to need to know before we set up a document and learn to design that from the ground up. All right, we need to go to File and Open, navigate to our lesson files folder. All right, we need 02 underscore start. I'm going to go ahead and open that up. Give that just a second. With this lesson, we can go ahead and click the button to update modified links. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and resave this. I need to navigate to my homework folder and find my lesson 2. And this is going to be resaved as 02 underscore postcard. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and save that. And then notice the tab up here is now 02 underscore postcard. So we are good to go. All right, viewing guides. There are 5 InDesign modes that we can use to view. All right, I know that we spoke about these in the lesson on printing and exporting, okay? But this is this lesson, so I want to go ahead and recover that, okay? You do need to know these. Normal displays artwork in a standard window, showing non-printing elements such as guides and grids and frame edges and hidden characters, okay? So here is the normal view. We have preview, and this displays artwork in a standard window, hiding all non-printing elements such as guides, grids, frame edges, and hidden characters. So this is preview. So you can see in normal view, we actually have a couple of elements out here on our pasteboard, okay? And you can see all of the frame edges and everything. All right, if I switch to preview mode, the pasteboard, you can't see anything on the pasteboard. And then of course, all of the frame edges and everything is basically hidden. All right, then we have bleed, which is for reviewing the predefined bleed area for objects that extend beyond the page boundaries. Okay, so if you're taking a look at that, you can see it says bleed, but it looks like it has red guides here. All right, so if I switch to that, if there was bleed guides set up, of course you would see those. Slug is for displaying the area outside the bleed area that can contain information such as printer instructions or job sign-off information. All right, so you can put your name, email, phone number. You can tell your printer or whomever if you have any questions, you can call, text, email, etc. Of course, anything that is in the bleed or the slug sections, those would be trimmed away when it's the final output, okay, has been printed. And then, of course, we have presentation. All right, presentation is great because it basically fills the screen and it works well for presenting design ideas to clients. So when they are looking at it, they may not necessarily want to see inside InDesign. Okay, they may get overwhelmed with what they're looking at in the workspace. So presentation allows for just that, presentation mode. So they're able to see exactly, what you have without having to look at it inside the application. All right, and of course, all you have to do is press escape, and then that takes you right back into the mode that was previously selected. Okay, so I'm going to just come back over here and click on normal mode because this is where we're going to pick up. All right, so when guides are displayed, it is easy to position objects with precision placement. It also enables you to snap objects into place. Okay, it is important to note guides don't print. So if I were to drag a guide down, now remember your rulers have to be showing. If you drag a guide down, for example, that guide that I just drew, that is not going to show. Okay, ones that show up here, they're not going to show. Okay, so you don't have to worry about that. That's basically just for you to work with for precision placement. It helps you maybe move text frames or graphics frames into position. You can snap to guides, stuff like that. Okay, the next section of this lesson is on adding text. Most Text is contained obviously in text frames. Okay. Text can also be contained inside a table cell. Okay. And it can also flow along paths. You can type directly into text frames or import text from a word processing app like Word. Okay. You can import text directly into existing text frames or create frames to contain the text. If text does not fit into a single frame, you can thread or link multiple text frames. You can use the type tool to edit or format text and create new text frames. All right, so I want to start right here. I'm going to grab my type tool, okay, and that is T on your keyboard. And I'm merely going to highlight the word right here that says cafe, and they're just going to have us change this to bistro. Okay, so instead of cafe and bar, it's going to be bistro and bar. Okay, importing and flowing text. You import text by using the place command. And the place command is located up in your menu bar at the top under file and place. Okay, so that's where we're going to be here in just a second. All right, so when you go to place something, the pointer, your cursor, your pointer is going to change to a loaded text icon, and I'm going to show you what that looks like in just a second. Now, with that, you have several choices. You can drag to create a new text frame. All right, you can click inside an existing text frame, or you can click to create a new text frame within the page's column guides. Now remember, if text does not fit into the text frame, you will notice a red plus sign in the output of that frame. And I will also point that out to you guys again. You can resize the text frame. You can flow the text to another text frame by clicking the output of the selected text frame with the overset text. Upon getting that loaded text icon again, you can then click the next text frame and you can flow or continue the text from one text frame into another. This is essentially threading, okay, or you can call it linking. So basically, you're threading or linking the first text frame to the second one, okay? All of the text in a series of threaded text frames is called a story. Now, we are going to work with some text in these two pre-existing text frames in today's lesson, but in a couple of weeks, we're going to devote 2 whole lessons to working with text, flowing text, the different ways that you can flow text, and then what we can do with it with some special features. Okay, so for today, we're going to learn some very simple ways because our text frames already exist. Okay, now I'm going to grab my selection tool, which is V on my keyboard. All right, and I want to make sure I'm clicking out here in my pasteboard area to deselect. All right, that's just a very easy way for me to just deselect. Okay, I want to make sure I am in normal mode, and I am. And I'm going to go to File and Place. And then I am going to navigate back to the lesson files folder for this lesson. All right, and then there is some Word docs in here. There's the Bistro Word doc, and then there is some JPEGs we're going to be working with, and this one's going to be coming up here in just a second. So I'm going to click this one right here that shows Bistro. Okay, and then I'm going to click Open. All right, I have nothing selected. That's why it's very important that you deselect by going out into your pasteboard and clicking with your selection tool to make sure that nothing is selected. Because if by chance you had a frame selected when you went to File and Place and selected that bistro.docs, it would automatically load that text into whatever was selected. And you don't want to do that. Okay, not yet. All right, so this is my loaded text icon. I had mentioned that when we get to this point, I was going to stop and talk to you guys about this and show you what it looks like. So your cursor is no longer a pointer. Okay, it kind of is. If you look at that example, you can see that there is a line on top and to the left, and then there is still kind of a black arrow. And then it looks like little lines of text in the lower right-hand corner, but then it actually gives you a preview of that text, which is kind of cool. Okay, So what we're going to do is that we are going to click the first text frame right here, and we're going to go ahead and click inside of it. And so what it does is, because the frame is already existing, when we click in it, it will actually place or flow the text into that first frame. Okay. All right, so if with my selection tool, notice that my loaded text icon is now gone, all right, because I clicked and placed the text. So now I have my selection tool back, okay? Now, if I look, I do have overset text because this is the output in the lower right-hand corner of a text frame, and it does have a red plus sign in it, indicating to us that we still have some text that does not fit, okay? All right, so what we need to do is we need to click that overset text box right here. And notice that now we get the loaded text icon back again. But this time I want you to notice, instead of having the line on the top in the left, all right, with a little sample of lines in the lower right-hand corner, that now we have a link. Okay, so the icon is, we still have our black arrow, but now we have a link icon. And then it looks like, if you look to the side of it, there's an additional, you can barely see it, but there's an additional icon to the right of that. All right, so I'm going to click in the open blank text frame to the right, and I'm just going to click one time and place that text. Okay, all right, so there still will be overset text at this point, and that's okay. We're going to fix that here in just a second. Moving on to working with styles. InDesign provides paragraph styles, character styles, and object styles for quickly and consistently formatting text and objects. It is important to note that when you create a style and you need to make a change to that style, everywhere that style has been applied is automatically going to be updated globally. That is huge, okay? Now, there are 3 styles that I want to cover that our text covers, and that is paragraph styles, okay? And so basically, I've given you guys kind of differentiated between these 3 styles. And then in the middle of these explanations, I did italicize, part of the sentence so that that will help you differentiate between them, okay? Paragraph styles includes all text formatting attributes like font, size, alignment that applies to all text in a paragraph. You can select a paragraph by simply clicking in it, highlighting any part of it or all of it. Character styles include only character attributes. Okay, so we're talking font styles, bold, italicized, font color, okay? That's going to apply to selected text within a paragraph. All right, so generally applied, this is going to call attention to specific text within a paragraph. All right, not all of it, just specific. Object styles lets you apply formatting, okay, fill, stroke colors, stroke styles, corner effects, transparency, drop shadows, feathering, text frame options, text wrap, etc. But this is going to apply specifically to selected objects, okay? So hopefully that explanation, including italicized wording in there, will help you guys, understand what all of those do and then be able to differentiate between those. All right, so I'm going to grab my type tool, again, T on your keyboard, okay, get to know those keyboard shortcuts, you guys. All right, so I'm going to click inside one of these frames, okay, so I'm just going to put my cursor inside of it, and then up on my menu bar at the top, I'm going to go to Edit and select All, or you could do a Control-A once your cursor is in there. And then I need to make sure that my Paragraph Styles panel is open. Excuse me. If yours is not, you can go to Window, and then you can go ahead and open it. It would be located under Styles, all right, and it'd be located here. All right, I'm working in the typography workspace, and I work with this all the time. So my styles, all of mine are open, okay? I just have to kind of scroll, all right? So I wanna make sure that I have all of that selected, and then I wanna go and open up my Paragraph Styles panel, okay? Now, what came in with our lesson file was, as you're going to find on most of our lesson files, minus the next lesson that we're going to end up covering, on setting up a document and working with pages, we're going to build that one from the ground up. But on pretty much all of these other lessons that we're going to work together, we're starting with a lesson file. Most of that's going to come in with some text that's already formatted, has some images, and it's going to have some styles, okay, whether that's character, maybe some object, some paragraph styles. All right, so in this example, we have some paragraph styles that already exist, okay? Now, in the course of working these lessons, obviously we're going to finish the lesson files. And then later on in the book, there's going to be an entire lesson devoted to styles. So we will get into that a lot deeper in that lesson. Styles are very easy to work with. Okay. For today, if all of the text in these two text frames are selected, our book just wants us to click to apply the body copy. Okay. Very easy. So one thing that I want you to notice, well, a couple of things. Okay, first off, it did resize the text automatically for us. Okay, the second thing that I want you to notice is that we no longer have overset text. So that issue corrected itself. Okay, all right. So now what I'm going to do with my type tool, I'm going to highlight starters and small plates. I'm going to go back to my paragraph styles and I'm going to apply the subhead paragraph style. Okay, I need to do the exact same thing for entrees and desserts, and I'm going to click to apply that. All right, so we actually ran out of room at the bottom here, and it automatically, since we threaded or linked the text from this text box to this text box, it automatically just bumped it up into the next text box for us. Actually, that's perfect because that's where that needs to be. I'm going to do a Control S and go ahead and save. Okay, I'm at a good spot here in the lesson that I want to be able to do that. All right. So what we need to do is we need to go ahead and highlight a couple of things here. These things that are in parentheses, they do want us to apply italics to. All right, and so they're going to end up being in both columns or both text frames. So I'm just going to go and apply italics to it because we are going to be doing some formatting. All right. That way, those items stand out. Okay, so on this first one right here, I'm going to go back into the left text frame, okay, under starters and small plates, and I'm going to highlight that first V that I applied italics to. I'm going to open up my swatches panel because there are some swatches that came in with our lesson file. We didn't have to create them. They were created for us and they came in. And they would like us to go ahead and apply, okay, the red bright. All right, so now we have that applied to our V that has a parenthesis. Okay, so with this still selected, okay, it's not deselected yet. You want to make sure it's still selected. Now I want to go to my character styles panel. If yours is not open, you know where to go. Menu bar at the top, window. You go down, styles is there. So you want to make sure that your character styles is open. And basically what I'm going to do is you could click to create a new style, but I'm going to alt click it. And basically it just opens it up for me. All right. And it just saves me a step. So they're going to have us name this red italic. Okay. Now, because I had that selected, notice it shows it's italicized and the color, the swatches has been applied to it is the red bright. Okay. You do want to make sure that you have the apply style to selection. You do want a checkbox in there. And you could go ahead and turn on preview as well. All right. I know my new character style dialog box is covering it, but if it wasn't, you'd be able to see that. Okay. All right. And then I'm going to go ahead and click OK. Okay. So what we need to do now, we notice in our character styles panel that our red italic has been applied. So we can come over here and just go ahead and apply it. And then I can click, do the same for right here. Okay, it is very easy. Oh, I almost got the period at the end. All right. And then I'm going to deselect. Now, the great thing about styles, as I had mentioned, about it being updated globally, is that if we decided, for example, to change the color of the swatch, that is the red bright, to a different color of reddish purple or whatever, where we had created a style from that, it would automatically be updated. So this, and this would automatically update to the new color because we created the style. So that's what it's talking about with being globally updated. If we make a change to that style, everywhere where that style was applied will automatically be updated. Okay, that is great because that means you don't have to go and find every time you apply that style and change it individually. Okay, so that's a huge time saver. Okay, working with graphics. Graphics in InDesign are placed inside of graphics frames. You can place a graphic into any existing frame or create a new frame as you place the graphic. You can also drag and drop graphics files from the desktop onto the page or the pasteboard. Okay, and remember your pasteboard is this gray area out here. And the loaded graphics icon is going to display a preview of your graphics. So we've just worked with the loaded text icon. Now, when you go to place a graphic, it too is going to change. The cursor is, but it's going to be the loaded graphics icon, okay, which is going to be very similar, but you're going to see like a little thumbnail view, a little tiny view of the image that you're getting ready to place. All right, so if you click the page, that image is going to be loaded at full size. Okay, inside an identically sized graphics frame. Okay, if you click inside an existing frame, one that's already there, obviously the graphic is going to be sized or scaled to fit inside that frame. Okay, so know the difference between those two. When working with graphics, please note, all right, that the frame and the image that sits inside that frame, two totally different things. The graphics frame is going to be blue or whatever layer color it is placed on, okay? So if the layer happens to be green, then that color will be green, okay? The bounding box around it will be green. If it's red, it'll be red. If it's blue, it'll be blue, okay? All right, so that's when that frame is selected. Okay, now the image itself is going to have a brown bounding box around it. Okay, so you got to think of it like this. Okay, you have a picture frame, all right, and then you have an image inside that frame. So obviously the picture and the frame are two different things. Okay, so hopefully that helps you guys understand what I'm talking about. All right, so when you hover over a placed image, okay, so I'm just going to use my selection tool. All right. And so like when you're hovering over, ooh, I got my contextual taskbar. So when you're hovering over an image, you're going to end up getting something called your content grabber. Okay. And so your content grabber basically kind of looks like a donut. All right. And it's just a little round white icon. It does kind of look like a donut. All right. And that's called the content grabber. And basically, that's just used to position an image inside of a frame. Okay. So that's all that is. And you guys will see that when you are working in this section, when you are working with your graphics, you will notice that. When you go to place an image, you'll see your content grabber, especially if you have to reposition that image inside of the frame. Okay. All right, so I am going to make sure that with my selection tool, I click out in my pasteboard because I want to make sure that nothing is selected. Okay, I'm going to deselect everything. And then I'm going to come back up here to my menu bar and go to File and Place. Okay, this time I want this dining room JPEG. Okay, it's located in your lesson files folder. Now I'm going to click to open. All right, so here is the icon that I was talking to you guys about. That's the loaded graphics icon. So you can see that you kind of still have the line at the top in the left-hand side. You still have the little black arrow, but now you have in the lower right-hand corner a little black and white graphic indicating obviously that that is a picture, an image. All right. And the great thing is that it gives you a thumbnail view of what picture you are about to place. Okay. So that's great. And that's perfect because you actually have the ability to select, say, for instance, you wanted to place a couple of pictures. Okay. You have the ability to select multiple pictures with File and Place, and it would load them. All right, it would load them just like what you see here with the loaded graphics icon. And then to the right of the little black and white little graphic picture in parentheses, it would tell you how many pictures you have loaded. Okay, so if you click, it's going to place that picture. And if you had additional pictures loaded, it would pull the next one up. All right, so that you would know exactly what picture is next. So it loads them in the same position that you click them, okay, when you went to File and Place. Okay. So the great thing is that there's already guides set up for us. If your guides are not showing, you want to make sure that they are showing. They should be showing if you are in normal, okay, normal mode, normal view. All right, so there are kind of light blue or that cyan blue colored guides, and there's one here, and you can see there's one here. So we are going to hold our left mouse button down. We don't just want to click one time. If we do, it's going to place that dining room image at 100% of its size. That picture could maybe be the same size as the whole document we're working on, or it could be larger, and then we'd have to go in and resize it. We don't want to do that. So we just want to hold with our left mouse button, and we want to click and drag a frame and then release, and it'll put the picture in the frame for us. Okay. So we are just going to hold your mouse button down and click to drag just like this, and then I'm going to release. And then notice that it automatically put the picture in there. It placed it right inside the graphics frame for us. Okay. So that is perfect. And when I did that, my contextual taskbar popped up. All right, it's kind of, in this case, it's kind of hidden and out of the way until you do certain things, and then your contextual taskbar pops up. All right. So I wanted to stop and show you, okay, that the frame around the actual graphic frame itself was blue. Did you guys see that? And now I clicked the picture, and now the frame around the picture itself, it's now brown. Okay, so I wanted to show you guys that. All right, because see, this is two different things. All right, the frame and the picture. Okay, all right. So that's something that we are going to get the opportunity to work with as we move along in the lessons, is having the ability to adjust a graphics frame and or adjust the image that sits in the frame. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and do a Control S and save. Working with objects. The building blocks of InDesign pages are objects such as text frames, graphics frames, rules, and those are just merely lines, etc. Objects can have fill color, and that's just mainly a background color. It can also have a stroke color, and that's just the outline color. You can move, scale, and rotate objects. In addition, you can use guides to precisely position objects anywhere on the page. All right, working with object styles. You can quickly and consistently format objects by saving attributes as styles, just like you can with paragraph or character styles. All right, now I want to spend a little bit of time talking about pre-flighting as you work. Now, in the last lesson that we did on printing and exporting, we did talk pretty much in depth about the pre-flight panel and different things like that, and how important it was to make sure that you don't have any errors in your pre-flight panel prior to doing your last save. All right, especially if this is going to go to a professional printer or get sent off to a team or whomever. All right, and our pre-flight panel, as you remember, is down at the bottom. All right, if you have a green circle, it means you have no errors and you are good to go. Okay, unfortunately, we have issues, but that's okay because they're very easy to fix. Okay, so this is where I want to talk to you guys about here for just a second. The process of evaluating a document for those potential output issues is known as pre-flighting. The pre-flight panel, of course, in the lower left corner of the document window. And if it finds an error, you're going to see a red pre-flight circle icon, okay? Mine is showing 6 errors. One of the most common pre-flight issues is overset text, okay? And we have talked about that. And that is indicated by a red plus sign in the frame's outport, okay? And that outport is located in the small square just above the lower right corner of the frame, okay? So pre-flighting and overset text and even screen modes, your view modes, those are things that we talk about probably in the first several lessons, okay? So some of this information, of course, is repetitive, but that's okay. All right, so I want to look at the pre-flight panel, okay? If we take a look down here, we have 6 errors, and we are currently in the Mail House embedded pre-flight profile. We know that because if I hover, it says pre-flight profile, and it says that the Mail House embedded is what is currently being applied to our file, okay? All right, so I think you guys, our book tells us that we should have 9 errors, if I remember correctly, but I have 6, okay? I really wouldn't get hung up if your pre-flight panel has less errors or more errors or whatever than what the book says. That's okay because we can fix them. It's not a big deal, okay? All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and click to open the pre-flight panel, and I want to take a look and see exactly what problem we have. Well, I know we don't have overset text because we fixed that, okay? But if I look, okay, obviously the pre-flight panel is on. The profile is Mail House embedded. If I click, basic is what we normally are working with. However, you can also add your own profile. Okay, so if you were I'm just going to give you an example. You are working on a bi-monthly newsletter, okay? And you have certain criteria that has to be checked for before it gets sent to the printer, okay? You could actually create your own pre-flight profile to make sure that you are checking for certain things beyond color or overset text, okay? So it will check for those things specifically, and then you can apply that profile that you saved to your newsletter, just like we have the Mail House embedded, all right, applied to our 02 postcard, okay? All right, so if I expand the color here, notice that, of course, everything is on page 1 because we pretty much just have 1 page, okay? And it has to do with color. So if I click on one of these, it tells me in my info panel at the bottom of the pre-flight panel what our problem is, okay? And I love it because it tells us the problem and what the requirement is based on the profile that is applied, and then how we fix it, okay? So the problem, it's going to be the same for all of these. The text content uses RGB, okay? The requirement is that we need to be in CMYK, so this color space of RGB is not allowed in this profile that is applied to the document we are working on, all right? The fix is to apply a swatch that uses a supported color space or mode, or edit the current swatch and specify a different color mode, okay? So that's actually very easy. All right, so I'm going to go to my swatches panel. Hold on just a second. I'm going to go ahead and click off of this. Okay, so I'm going to come and click, let's see. Okay, I'm just going to select this first one here. All right, so it's the very first V that we did. So I'm going to go and open up my swatches panel after that is selected. And we see here that we have the red bright. And look, you guys, it's RGB mode. Okay, we can't have that. So we actually have to fix that. If I double click that open, we can just easily fix this. See, the color mode is actually RGB. Let's just click this down arrow here and change this. If I scroll all the way to the top, we can change this to CMYK. Okay, so the color is going to be pretty much the same, but it's going to convert RGB into CMYK, and that's the color mode that we need in order to match the profile in our pre-flight, and then all of the instances of that where we applied the red bright is going to be updated with CMYK. So I'm going to go ahead and click on preview, and I'm going to click on OK. And notice when I did that, all of the errors disappeared. There are no errors here, so I'm just going to go ahead and collapse that out, okay? And so if I hover now over my red bright, it doesn't say RGB anymore. It says CMYK, okay? So that's really important. So you just want to make sure when you have your pre-flight panel open that you just highlight, with your type tool or whatever, one of these instances, and then go to your swatches panel, and then it'll make that available, okay? So very easy fix, no more errors. All right, and because of that, I'm going to go ahead and do a Control S and allow that to save. So if we were ready to send this to a professional printer, okay, it would be good to go. All right. And the last thing that our text talks about is something that we've already talked about in the last lesson, but we're going to end with that. Viewing the document in presentation mode. And presentation mode, the InDesign interface is hidden entirely, okay? And the document fills the whole screen. And this mode is helpful when you want to view your pages against a black background. And then, of course, after viewing your document, all you have to do is merely press your escape key. Okay, so this would be a very great view to show a client, or if you're working with somebody on a team and they just kind of want to see it. So it just basically gets rid of the InDesign workspace and allows them to just focus on the document or the project itself. So if you press escape, of course, it takes you right back into your mode. Okay, so I'm going to go back into normal mode or normal view. And then at the very, very end of this lesson, it's the page after the exploring on your own, is something called InDesign best practices. And I just wanted to point that out. Please make sure you guys just read through that. It's got some really great information in it, stuff that we are talking about in this lesson about watching your pre-flight panel, paying attention to it. You don't just have to wait until you do your final save at the end. Okay, you can do that often. You can also cut down on a lot of different things by threading text, linking that text, creating styles. So we created a style, okay, the red italics. It was based on RGB, but that created an issue, all right, that was caught in our pre-flight panel. So it caught it and we fixed it to CMYK. We still have our style. I mean, it's still applied, but it now matches the requirements of our profile. Okay, so that's perfect. So what I would like to do, because I did not work every single thing in this lesson, okay, a lot of these I'm not, all right? So what I want to do is I want to show you what the end file is going to look like when it's done, okay? Now, I do provide the end file for you. I actually think I saved it as a PDF for you guys so that you can just open that up as well. But I want to show you what yours is going to look like, okay? All right, let me close out my pre-flight panel and put it back at the bottom. All right, so you guys are going to end up doing some additional things to this. All right, you are going to basically grab your 3 flowers and pull them over into this area. And the green color that we've been using, you're going to end up applying here. Okay. In addition, there's a QR code you guys are going to put down here. Very easy to do. And both of these text frames are going to end up having a drop shadow applied, all right, which is going to end up being an object style. And then I believe you even have a stroke around it. It does. It looks like it's going to end up being a stroke that is either the green, it might be the green dark that is applied. Okay, it's going to be very, very little on that stroke, and it is. It's the green medium, it looks like, and it's going to be a 0.5 inch, or I'm sorry, a 0.5 point line, all right, or stroke around that text box. Okay, so this is what this is going to look like when it's completely done. Okay, I only went through and worked some of the bigger portions of this lesson, and so I'm allowing you guys the opportunity to do some of this on your own. Okay, so this is what it will look like when you are completely done. Also, if you go to the very first page of this lesson, since this was originally only a one-page project to begin with, you can also go back to the very beginning of the lesson, and they provide that screenshot for you, so you could also look at that as well. Okay. All right. So this wraps up everything that we needed to cover for today on getting to know InDesign.